What's up, fight fans? We are heading all the way to Sydney, Australia this weekend with some absolutely outstanding matchups. Dricus Du Plessis versus Sean Strickland rematch world title main event. This is one you're not going to want to miss. And just for you, to make this fight night even better, I have teamed up with DraftKings to bring you all a great offer right now. DraftKings is giving all new customers $200 in bonus bets instantly after they place a wager for just $5. So don't wait. Download the DraftKings app. Do it right now. When you sign up, use the code SONNEN. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Stay in on the action. Use your $200 in bonus bets for same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. You can combine multiple bets together from the same fight. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy for a shot to win cash prizes. I want you to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. When you sign up, place in at least a $5 wager, use the promo code SONNEN. Get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code SONNEN only at DraftKings Sportsbook. My official prediction, Sean Strickland versus Dricus Du Plessis Strickland. Now, DraftKings, what do you guys think the odds are? Do you think that's interesting what the odds are? What the handicappers think? Because Dricus is a 2-1 favorite, and I don't imagine that hits you as a surprise at all. In fact, if I was to just ask you to guess what the odds are, you probably said Dricus, and you probably said it was close, right? 2-1. 2-1 is an interesting number, though. These guys fought 1 year ago. It was January of last year, so 13 months. And Dricus was dismissed. Dricus was a 2-1 underdog. So I'm just trying to take you back. This part I do find somewhat philosophical and fascinating to a degree, which is we didn't know what to think the first time these guys fought. But they've now fought. And one judge thought Strickland won. In fact, so many of you thought Strickland won that that's what's getting us back to this rematch. The UFC does not just jump on rematches. And it's to the point that when they used to do them, it would be right away. If you weren't getting an immediate rematch, you weren't getting a rematch. But now, you got to recline, but they will make the same fight as long as you aren't satisfied with the previous outcome. It's very interesting. It's interesting in that regard, and what I'm trying to prove is there was a 2-1 for Dricus, and we've now seen them fight to the point that you think you know who won. One licensed judge rolls with thinks it was Sean. I just find that it's interesting that we get back to the exact same point with the same guys in the same weight class fighting under the same rule set, but the odds have changed. See, when you have 2-1, it's not just, well, it was close odds and it was Strickland, and now it's close odds, but it's Strickland. It's not. You got to close that gap, and then you got to surpass it. So mathematically, you're talking about 4 points, right? One guy doesn't just go up 2 to 1. He's got to come down 2 and go 2 the other way. The other guy's got to, I mean, are you understanding? What is it you saw? What is it that you believe that you know? And I can't tell you you're wrong. I'm telling you that I think it's Strickland, but I will also disclose I can't imagine Strickland having a fight and me not picking Strickland. I'm very biased. You understand that. But I am also very objective with my analysis, right? Even if my pick is based on a bias, my analysis is me speaking about what I saw. You know where I got that line, by the way? Say what you saw. You know where I got that line? I've been given one piece of advice for commentating. When I'm in the suit and I'm coming in and talking to you guys, I've been given one piece of advice ever by Joe Rogan. Ever. If that's the master, like, it's very important that if he sets something down that you pick it up. And I did. I took this with me. And it was in a lobby bar in Boston. I had a day's work on a movie with Kevin James. And Joe Rogan had a day's work on this movie, so we stayed at the same hotel. I was not meeting Joe down at the bar, like he happened to be there, I happened to be there, I happened to sit down. We're talking about something completely different, and I wasn't even a commentator back then, but I remember Rogan said that. He said, when you're commentating, say what you saw. And where that had come from at that specific time is we were having a number of commentators that would put a guy over. Like a fight would be garbage. We would have a fight in certain promotions that was rotten garbage, and the announcers would be trying to sell it. Like I remember specifically these two guys that were circling, and absolutely nothing was happening. And one of them throws this punch, and the announcer's like, "Oh my God, he unleashed a bomb!" Like it was one of these things, and that was a belief. Many people thought that that's what you need to do as the commentator. You need to carry it, and you need to cover. And in the world of professional wrestling, even when you have cooperation, you have things that happen off script. And so it is the announcer's job when he sees that to attempt to tell the story and bring the audience along, as opposed to saying they just botched a spot. So there was good reason to believe it. I'm just sharing with you, Rogan did not believe it. And Rogan said, if you don't want to put guys down, you can avoid that. But if they're standing there looking at each other, do not pretend or suggest to your audience that they're not standing there circling looking at each other. You got to say what you saw. So I want you to know that it's a powerful thing when you find out that it came from Joe Rogan, right? So what I saw was a very close fight. And what I saw was Dricus is better than we knew. When Dricus started getting his run, it was not because he beat so-and-so. It was not because of a performance that he put on. When Dricus started to get his rub, he did it on Twitter, and he did it attacking a card placement of Bo Nickel. Dricus was not calling out Bo. Dricus had his own business. In fact, that night he was opposite Darren Till. But Dricus was on the undercard. Bo was debuting in the same weight class in a feature match. And that's where Dricus said, I've been here. I'm a veteran. I've traveled these roads. You're going to bring this guy in. This is Dricus talking. You're going to bring a guy in that's never done this before, and you're going to put him over me. That's wrong. And you kind of sat back and listened. Like, that was a very unique argument. I don't know that it had ever been made before. We've seen things like this happen, but I don't know of a time that a guy spoke up for himself quite with this kind of a mindset. So, Bo ends up getting hurt. Bo comes off the card. You got to have an adjustment. Who does it go to? Of course it went to the squeaky wheel. And Dricus finds himself on TV fighting Darren Till. And it was a really interesting match where they did a little of everything. They did some punching and kicking. They did some wrestling. They ultimately came down to some conditioning. Like, they really showed a little bit of everything. So Dricus, as a reward, gets thrown into a co-main event. This is a guy that couldn't even get on television. Now, I will say a second time on television, he's in a co-main event. Oh, by the way, against Robert Whittaker. Dricus is screwed. It was the ultimate example of be careful what you ask for because you just might get it. Dricus is screwed. There is nobody that can beat Robert Whittaker. There is nobody not named Israel Adesanya that can even win rounds against Robert Whittaker. And Dricus went out, and it was ugly and dirty. And I remember that headlock. Like, I'll never forget when he just threw him down like a playground bully. But for some reason, we didn't give him his due. We felt like, man, Whittaker had a bad night, or he got on a roll. We didn't give him his due. So Dricus, because he's in the right place at the right time, gets a title fight with Sean. And I'm bringing that to you because Sean very much had an advantage. Whether Sean likes this or not, he very much had an advantage over Israel Adesanya in that it was Sean's dream, and it was nothing that Izzy wanted to do. Izzy at no point is driving around in his car thinking about potential fights, and he's thinking of a guy not in the top 5. It's not true. Izzy had heat and he had a personal beef. It just wasn't with Sean. So meanwhile, Sean, all he wants to do is get an opportunity to be champion of the world. He got everything he wanted, and Izzy's got to do something that he's not interested in doing. That was a meaningful advantage for Sean, and I bring that to you because that's the spot Sean found himself in against Dricus. Sean had business. Possibly with Kamaru Usman. Sean had a piece of business. Supposedly with his former teammate, Khamzat Chimaev. Sean was being offered business in a rematch against Adesanya. He had nothing to do with Dricus. So Sean's got to put those same pants on that Izzy had to put on, and he found out when you find yourself in a fight harder than you thought it was going to be, it can get away from you. And that's what I feel like I saw. It's one of the reasons I'm so confident in Sean. I am very confident that tomorrow night, Dricus is going to find himself in a fight that's harder than he thinks it's going to be. He's not fighting the same guy that he fought 13 months ago. He's not fighting a guy where you're the last thing on his mind. You're not even on his mind. Dricus is the only thing on Sean's mind. And I acknowledge it was close the first time. I did think that Sean lost. I thought that Dricus won that fight. I wasn't happy about it, but that is what I thought. But I also found out that a lot of people tell me I should rewatch it. Found out that a licensed judge did not agree. I found out that Sean Strickland, the two fighters that fight always know who won. I have one exception to that. I have one exception. I had a fight with Michael Bisping. I did not know who won. But what I'm sharing is Sean sincerely thought that he won that fight. And Sean's motivation is much different this time. So if it was close the first time, and we have evidence that it should be close the second time, I think that a 2-1 flip, which is actually 4 points, is a little bit of a surprise. And ultimately, my final words, and new.